Greetings, magical souls. I've come on today to share what I feel is a really important message. I have had a bit of let's just call it that I feel like this morning my heart was just cracked wide open, and I've been trying to collect myself for several hours, but I'm still not fully collected, and I have a feeling this might be the new me. So I'm just going to go with it. This is this is a message that I feel it is very worth sharing, and it's also a difficult one, but it is a beautiful one, and I think that it's something that is really going to be able to change our world if we can be conscious of it. And as I've shared before, I do believe that we're all walking one another home. We are being catalyzed by others sharing their stories. I mean, I watch some people, and in fact, it was something that happened this morning that all of a sudden just kind of brought everything together for me about what I'm going to share here today. And I thought maybe I should wait till I had fully collected myself. But what I've realized is I want to I want to feel through the words as I share this with you. I don't want this to be coming from my mind, which it might do in a day or two's time. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing these things, but there is a something that is happening in the moment, at the moment, where there is very much a presence and a feeling about things, and you think about it. Well, you feel into it, and it is so rich and such a profound experience to go through, possibly at a soul level, but also at a physical level. And yet, sometimes I have these things that happen to me that I want to share, and I've noticed that if I leave them too long, my mind is talking me out of sharing them. A couple of years ago now, this was really how all this started. But as most of you know, I have two daughters. They are 15 and 16 now. And a couple of years ago, my husband found an email that I had sent him when they were probably about, I don't know, 3 and 4. We were still living in South Africa at the time. I was still working for Ernst and Young. And I had sent him this email. He was traveling and away from home, like with like 35 bullet points of how my morning had been with my kids and their antics, and just getting dressed because I needed to drop them at school. And that particular morning, I was facilitating training at the office, and it was a morning that I just could not afford to be late. And I was so frustrated in this email. And reading through it, it was really, really, really funny. Just describing the antics of what the kids were doing, and how I was so frustrated because they were taking longer to get dressed, and there were a million outfits and whatever. And it was funny. It was very, very funny. And then I found it a couple of months ago, and I reread it, and it was not funny anymore. It was sad. And what really struck me is that I had put work on a pedestal, and all of those things that I was finding fault with and getting irritated at, where my children were just experiencing the world. They were still young. there was still so much awe and wonder about them. What I should have really been just experiencing with them that was utterly magical, wonderful, so innocent, precious. I uh, I found that irritating because my job was the thing that was the most important part of my life at that time. And, over the past few years, it's become harder and harder to watch videos of my kids when they were very young because it's absolutely heartbreaking. And you see, this is what I was worried about in this video, but it comes from the heart, and this is why it needs to be shared while I'm in this state. And it doesn't seem to matter how much time goes by. Whenever I think about this or watch those videos, it's the same reaction all the time. And funnily enough, of late, watching those videos has become something that is more joy-filled. And I realize that this is also part of the path, and it might be helpful for people out there that can relate to the story, where they feel like if they had only known what they know now, they could have been a better parent. But what I've come to realize on this journey is that each time I watch those videos, there is a little bit of healing that occurs and a little bit more forgiveness that I am able to give myself because, and even with my parents, we were just doing the best that we could at the time with what we knew, with where we were, with where the world was. And this is why I wanted to share this today. So it doesn't really matter if your kids are teens or even if they're grown up or whatever. I believe that today is the first day of the rest of your life, and it's never too late to make the changes. So that's the first thing I want to say. So everything that I say in this video can be done today. I don't believe it's ever too late. But I really, really wanted to speak to those who may be expecting, who may have young children, newborn babies, toddlers. It's so important for us to realize. I honestly believe that we are at a time where we can start working differently with our energy. And this is the thing, is a lot of us have to have jobs because we want to provide for our children and we want to send them to good schools and educate them. But really, what is it that your child needs from you? All they need from you is your presence and your love. And while the money is, it pays for the shelter and the clothing and the food, what I'm really wanting to ask everybody out there today is just to consider how much energy you are giving to your job, because could you give it less energy and still do as good a job? Are you getting home at night absolutely exhausted and so that you can't deal with your kids, much like I was when I was in that full-time job, that very hectic paced job? And I invite you to also really take a look at how you're feeling about your job. So if you are coming home drained and tired, is there something else that you can be doing? And if you have a program running of, well, that won't make me enough money and that won't put the roof over my children's heads and food on the table, clothes on their backs, I invite you to dig a bit deeper and look at your relationship with money. All of this is changing. And I believe that now it's really important. We're at this pivotal moment. And funnily enough, all of this, I feel like I have gone through this real, what I can only describe as a death and a rebirth the past couple of weeks. And, my whole life, really, if you think about it. But the past weeks in working with the dragons and whatever, I feel like there's been some alchemical process that has happened and unfolded within me that I am no longer the same person, the same being. There's more and more happening. And as I explained earlier, there was this heart cracking open this morning that I just couldn't stop. And I just cried for hours. And I feel like it's now been cracked open to the point that there will be no closing down of it again. And I've spent most of my life having it closed down because it was the only way I could deal with the cruelty and the suffering and the pain in this world. But the only way we actually heal is to feel and to release some of that pain, is to forgive ourselves. That also requires a bit of feeling. And the only way that we actually heal the earth, heal ourselves, heal one another is by feeling and by opening our hearts. We all know that we are going more into a heart-centered space, and there is no more, I guess, being detached from these things. So I don't know, in the coming years, maybe there's going to be a whole lot more people crying and then laughing at the end of the tears, because I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but sometimes when you cry, how I've noticed it of late, I will cry and then I will end up just laughing and laughing. And there is such a lightness that comes after this emotional release. And I just wonder why, for me, myself, I've always been so afraid of my emotions. And we always think of crying as this negative thing. And yet, how many of you have experienced what I've just said, where you might cry, but you might end up laughing and you feel so much joy afterwards, or even just after a really good cry, how much lighter you actually feel. And I go, because this is a program. Big boys don't cry. You can't cry. Crying is weak. Crying is this. Crying is that. No, it's not. It is so incredibly healing. So, really, what I just wanted to say, without making this a really long-winded video, is that if you know that you are having the life sucked out of you in a job that you dislike, and you have young children, and you find that when you get home you are too tired to be with them or be fully present with them, I invite you to explore your relationship around money, your limiting beliefs, your programs, your social conditioning, because I believe that we're at a time where we can start breaking out of this. And this is how we break out of it. And it's by sharing things and coming together as community. We're not meant to be on our own. And it's by the sharing and the supporting of one another that is so important, but also what we do with our energy. So if you are giving 100% of yourself and really giving your essence to that job, is there a way that you can just do that job by just putting in as much energy as you need to and still doing the exact same job? I'm not telling anybody to just, go and be a complete slob at their job, although maybe that's not a bad idea. But what I'm really trying to get at is that, can you somehow start working with your energy differently so that you don't feed your essence into this false matrix anymore? How can you retain some of that energy? And also start making peace with taking selfish time out for yourself to replenish your cup. Because when your cup's replenished, then you can also be fully present with your children, with your spouse, your partner, your family, your friends. These are the things that are now important. It is not the job. I am so blessed because a year ago, I stepped into I can't call it a vocation or even a job. I stepped into my calling. And I find that after every session I have, whether it's with an animal or a person, after every event that I do, um, I feel energized and ready to take on more. It's like what I do is energizing in and of itself. And it is such a different way to experience a job or something that is an income. And so I wanted to invite all of you out there who may be feeling stuck in jobs. A lot of us are losing jobs at the moment. A lot of us are experiencing financial difficulties at the moment. My past year has been, particularly the past 4 months, have been really, really rough. And, but interestingly enough, in having those very dire financial moments, it has forced me to look at my relationship with money, my beliefs around money. Because remember, we're all creating our own reality through our filters, our beliefs, our programs, our conditioning. And a lot of this has shifted for me in the past couple of weeks. And what I've realized is that I don't actually think that there is anything in the world, if there is something that you are passionate about and that you want to do and you want to share with the world, and that is the way that you are standing in your authenticity, I believe that you can make a living from it. I think that we've got an old program running that says, oh, there's no money in that. So, like, there's no money in art. There's no money in animal sanctuaries. There's no money in, there's a whole load of things that we've always been taught that there is no money in. But this thing with the children is so, so important because they are the future. And I also feel like there is so much that we can learn from our children. There is this old program running where you must listen to your elders because they know better. What if our children at the moment know something that we don't because they're not as programmed? Remember, when your children, particularly when they're young, they don't have the programs yet. And I want us to start, for those that have very young children or that, as I said, are expecting or have new babies, allow your children to show you the way. Allow your children to help you to re-experience the magic in this world, the awe, the wonder. Help them to to connect with you, heart and soul, so that you can really have this very enriched life where you see things through their eyes. You reconnect with your inner child just by doing that. I invite you to play with them. Just be present with them, have fun with them, connect with them. But please do not put your job ahead of your children. Please do not do that. Find some way, even if you have to stay in your job that you don't love and that you have no passion for, that it really is just a financial means to an end. Find a way to work differently with your energy and find some time to carve out for yourself, to start looking at really what lights you up and what you dream of, and start bringing that into this reality, because you're the only one that can do that. You're the only one that can bring your unique soul gifts into this reality. And I believe our children can sometimes light the way for us. So my little tykes that I watch on the videos, dancing and singing and, telling me things that maybe I didn't want to hear, I invite you to open up your heart to really, really just connect with and listen to your little children. I believe we are moving into new times, and I believe that, well, yes, the universe is going to respond to our beliefs, and it's going to just keep mirroring back to us what we believe to be true. So this is why I invite you to explore all your beliefs about that you have to have this job, that X, Y, and Z won't make you money. Money is just energy. Money is a currency. And I think a lot of us that struggle with it have very limiting beliefs about it. And we have these difficult relationships with money where we just on some level, even though we've said, oh yeah, I've healed all that, there is still some subconscious belief or some internal feeling around money that needs to be healed. And that's why sometimes you've got to do the deep dive. So if you're trying to make it on your own and or do something that you love and you find it's not working, you might need to just go and explore, journal about it or find some meditations that you can do or bounce it off somebody who is of a similar frequency and vibration to you. And by that I mean, not people that are going, oh no, you must have the job, you've spent thousands of dollars on becoming a lawyer and you can't walk away from that now because think about your children and how are you going to look after. No, I'm asking you to challenge all of that. Really, really challenge it. So, and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. The last 4 months have been so stressful, but also very transformative and very expansive. And what's so fascinating for me is that, as I said, I've had some experiences in the past sort of 6 weeks as I've been working with the dragons, and since I was guided to create those events, that has very much transformed me as the human being that I am. And it's really quite fascinating what has happened. And I feel like I'm fired up and I'm starting to look back on all the experiences that I had that were what I thought were all isolated incidents. And now I'm seeing the interconnectedness of even all my experiences and how they connect to everything that I'm doing and everything that I want to do and everything that I want to birth into this world. Your children don't want you working 24/7 and making this life for them so that you can send them to university and to school and to educate them they want you, they want your presence. And I believe that the children that are coming in, I believe with some of the new consciousness that we have as parents, and and you might not even be a parent. Maybe you've even got a niece or a nephew or some being that you can connect with in a slightly deeper way. But I think to view everything through a child's lens might be one of the ways that we transcend this matrix. And it just, dropped in for me this morning. As I say, there were a couple of things that happened, and I came across a video where the woman was talking about how we put so much of ourselves into the corporation and into the business that we work for. And I mean, it didn't even have anything to do with the children, but it was just really one of those videos where you kind of go, where you start thinking a little bit differently about what you're doing. But on the back of that, there was this real epiphany for me, and I thought, well, if energy flows where attention goes, and if these corporations are all, a lot of us, the jobs that we have, the 3D jobs that we have, are your energy is what fuels that corporation, and that corporation is fueling the matrix. And it was suddenly like, well, what if there's a different way to do this? And then, there was something around the children and whatever, and I just broke down and I just thought, if I could only have my children now with what I know, which I know I can't. But it was just this, I was brought back to that letter and how my children used to be and what they're like now and the things that they battle with, and that they don't like the way they look because every second video is, oh, I used to hate my lips until I found this, and this is what you can do with your hair, and this is the latest makeup trend, and all of this is so, so pervasive at the moment. And I wish my children could see themselves through the lens that I see them through, and that they are perfect. And then it made me sort of look at that the other way around and think, what if we could view the world through our children's eyes? And it was like, that's the way out. That's the way out, because they are not programmed yet. And also that it's never too late to start. I invite you to not be afraid of your emotions, to not be afraid to feel. The heart is the gateway to back to our connection with our planet, the animals, the trees, all of nature, humanity, the universe. The heart is the gateway. And we cannot fear these emotions. We cannot fear the way we feel about things. If you're feeling strange about something, I ask you to dive into it if you can, because what's the worst that can happen? Because on the other side of fear is total liberation, and on the other side of fear is love. And I believe that all of this unraveling and what feels very painful and what feels so frightening is just really the dissolution of everything that we're not. And it is the soul really just starting to emerge and shine through the physical body. The soul is becoming, for me, much, much louder than the ego, much, much louder than the mind. And I think that's why a lot of people are talking about how we can't think our way out of the matrix. We can't think our way through these things anymore. The time that we're now in a feeling place. It's, what does something feel like? Something might look a certain way, but what is its energy feeling like, and what are you feeling like, even though your mind might be going, oh, that's silly, just discount that. I invite you to just feel into that. It's just all that isn't you, that's just dissolving. And the experience that I had, which I'll share in another video, with around all the dragons and these events and certain things that have happened. What really came in for me very, very strongly the other morning was just that, as I feel like I'm going through all of these changes, what's really happening is that as all of these things fall away, those things that are falling away, that I'm so frightened to let go of because they're so familiar and I know them, as they're falling away, those are the things that are keeping me separate from the all that is. Those are the things that are keeping me in the separation. So when I say this is a dissolution or a dismantling or a dissolving of everything that you're not, it ultimately is a dissolving of the separation. And when you start to, I keep having these moments where I'm just in this pure presence and this pure connectedness where I am not separate from everything that's around me, everything that's out there, everything that's within me. It's, I can't even get it into words, but I keep having these moments. And what I'm realizing is that I I no longer almost know where I end and this begins. I no longer know, I no longer feel separate in those moments. And there's such an expansiveness and such there are no words. But I think that is really what ultimately is happening. Is it's this deep reconnection. It's this deep reconnection to the heart, this reconnection to the soul. And what is that really? That's the all that is. Our soul is a fractal of the all that is. So, when you come into that state of pure presence and you realize that you're uncomfortable, but you actually just sit with it, and you realize that the fear is completely unfounded, and all that you're left with after that is that all those things that you are scared to let go of are the things that are keeping you feeling separate. It's very profound. It's very, very profound. There is a key here about really putting where we're putting our energy. Withdraw it as much as you can from the things that you might need to just keep for now, but start putting some of that energy into exploring what you love. Put that energy into the relationships that are important and meaningful for you, and just be the love that you are. Allow the you, that is a part of the all that is fully connected and that doesn't know separation, to start shining through your physical avatar into this reality, because this is how we transcend it. We are the master alchemists, and I was reminded the other day when the dragon said that we are the locks. We are the locks and they are the keys. And I think that we're all at the moment, maybe we'll, in certain aspects, there is somebody else that's a lock and you're the key, and we're all, there's this beautiful soup of unlocking and remembering and reawakening and reconnecting that is going on at the moment. And the animals, they don't have this ego. I've often said they're a gateway to new earth. The children, before they develop an ego, before they become programmed, of course, the same thing would apply. And as I say, even if your children are older, it's never too late. This morning, I sent my children from my soul to theirs, just a little message that I know they'll feel, because our energy is what we are. It's an illusion that we are just these physical bodies. Our energy is everything. And I sat for 10 minutes when I had collected myself, just my soul connecting to my children's souls, and just telling them I love them, I see them, I hear them. They are perfect. They are my treasures. They're just really just reconnecting back into them. So it is never too late. But if they're young, oh my, you've got a whole very different, hopefully, perspective now on how to be with your children, and as I said, many of your loved ones. So if you are still here, thank you for listening. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for following me. And in the next couple of weeks, I have a few videos that I'm going to be creating now that these dragon events are over. I hope to be sharing more with you about my journey and my experiences. Let's all just continue to build our communities of like-minded souls, finding our soul tribes, our star families, and let's just continue to walk one another home as we reawaken to the love and the beauty and the depth of this human experience, and all these feelings and the polarity and the ups and the downs, because that's really what this is meant to be. Not a, I just want that problem to go away. This is really what we're here for. This human experience is unlike anything, and it's only through engaging with your children this in this way, in this human way, is an experience unlike that you just can't do, anywhere else. You can't do it energetically. There is something quite beautiful and unique and all perfectly imperfect and all chaotically peaceful about this human experience. So why do we spend so much time running from it and thinking that there's something that we need to fix or wishing that it could be different when it is exactly as it's meant to be. And maybe it's just our perception that needs to shift in order to transform all these things that we think are wrong or broken or awful, or it's time to let go of all of that and just experience it. And may you be touched by love, bombarded by love, actually. And may it crack you open so that you really, 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 truly realize that there is absolutely nothing to fear. If you are feeling like you are trying to keep something at bay, and like you feel like it's almost that sensation like if I have to just give in to this and I start crying, I feel like I'm never going to stop, or I feel like this is going to break me. Perhaps that's exactly what needs to happen. This real being cracked wide open, because it's the only way I believe the soul can actually truly emerge. And as I said earlier, all that cracking, all that cracking wide open and all those things falling away that we fear are just the very things that are keeping us from experiencing this life exactly the way that we were meant to experience it. Wishing you a magical rest of your day, wherever you may be. And thank you again if you are still here and you are still listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you always for all your comments. I love and I read each and every one of them. It means so, so, so very much to me.